Russia has also largely dismissed the effects of sanctions by the U.S. and the EU. Meanwhile, European defense ministers met in Luxembourg Tuesday to discuss the crisis in Ukraine. Now, this meeting comes a day after EU foreign ministers adopted more sanctions against Russia. Jack Barton is in Brussels with more on the talks.
Well, the EU is taking a much softer stance as compared to NATO or the United States, for example. A lot of that's to do for purely practical reasons. The EU and Russia have deep economic ties. About a quarter or to a third of Russian gas flows into Europe. So there is a strong interdependency there between the EU and Russia, and so we're hearing a much softer dialogue. And even though we saw the EU ratchet up sanctions yesterday, they were still quite mild to the sort of sanctions we've seen the US impose, and they just targeted individuals. So what the EU's foreign policy chief, Catherine Ashton, the message she's really giving out from today's meeting is the only way forward in terms of solving this crisis is through diplomacy to seek a political solution. And she is really trying to keep those, the tensions away from escalating so that they can move forward to this approach when the foreign ministers of Ukraine, Russia, the US and EU meet for face-to-face talks in Geneva on Thursday. Well, NATO's chief Anders Fogh Rasmussen took a much firmer stance than the EU foreign policy chief today, saying that NATO intelligence showed clearly, though he wouldn't reveal that intelligence, that Russia had a firm hand in events in Ukraine's east. He called on Russia to stop being a part of the problem, become part of the solution, and to pull its troops back from the border. But what he also called for was a threefold plan involving EU member states to reinforce defence plans, to enhance exercises between, including EU countries, and in his own words, to move towards more suitable or appropriate deployments in order to reassure NATO member states, particularly those in the EU that are close to Russia, that the alliance can defend them. Now, a part of that is he wants greater deployments to the Baltic states, above and beyond the ones that have already been mentioned, but he also wants much greater funding for the militaries in the EU. Since the start of the crisis, we've seen big budget cuts in defence, so that was really a big part of his message today. There needs to be a cohesive strategy put in place, but above and beyond that, EU states need to start spending money again. They need to start putting funds into their military budgets.